For nearly 30 years, the case of JonBenét Ramsey has been defined by rumor, tabloid headlines, and rampant speculation. The objective facts surrounding the 6-year-old's death have often been entirely eclipsed by the public noise. On the morning of December 26, 1996, police arrived at the Ramseys' Boulder, Colorado home. Because her mother found a ransom note, investigators immediately treated the location as a kidnapping scene, a decision that compromised almost everything that followed. Instead of locking down the house, officers allowed friends and victim advocates to freely wander the property. No one secured the basement where JonBenét's body would later be found, leaving the actual crime scene completely exposed to contamination. Those chaotic first hours created a massive vacuum of reliable physical evidence. Without a pristine, strictly managed scene, scientific investigation faltered, leaving a gap that subjective theories and public suspicion quickly filled. The anomalies started immediately with the ransom note. It was nearly 3 pages long, written in a theatrical tone that sounded lifted from action movies, and demanded exactly $118,000, a figure that closely matched John Ramsey's recent work bonus. When investigators brought in handwriting analysts to compare the note against samples from Patsy Ramsey, the results were inconclusive. It was not a clear match, but they couldn't definitively rule her out either. There was also no obvious sign of forced entry. An unsecured window in the basement showed no clear disturbances in the dust or the snow outside. Lacking an obvious external intruder, police began focusing their scrutiny strictly inward, on the parents. The resulting media firestorm practically convicted John and Patsy in the court of public opinion. Tabloid culture seized on the pageant photos and the bizarre ransom note, subjecting the grieving parents to years of relentless, hostile coverage. By the time Patsy Ramsey passed away in 2006, she had never been formally exonerated. The sheer volume of public noise had entirely derailed the search for whoever actually committed the crime. 2 years later, the case experienced its first genuine scientific pivot. Investigators recovered microscopic amounts of biological material, known as touch DNA, from the long johns JonBenét was wearing. The test results were definitive. The DNA matched an unknown male. It did not belong to John, Patsy, or anyone in the Ramsey family. The finding prompted the Boulder District Attorney to issue a formal public apology and fully clear the family. But the investigation quickly hit a wall. In 2008, forensic DNA could only identify a suspect if their genetic profile was already sitting in an existing law enforcement database. This unknown male profile matched absolutely no one on file. It was a frustrating reality for the investigators. The science of the era was robust enough to clear an innocent family, but it was not yet advanced enough to track down the guilty person, and now the investigation is moving again. Recently, police went back into their archives and discovered dozens of original items from the 1996 crime scene that had somehow remained entirely untested. Among these forgotten items are additional clothing swabs and, most crucially, a physical piece of the actual broken paintbrush handle used to strangle JonBenét. To analyze these newly recovered items, investigators are utilizing forensic genetic genealogy, a modern technique that bypasses the limitations of the 2008 database searches. This diagram shows how the technology works. Instead of needing a direct match to a criminal on file, scientists extract microscopic biological material to build a vast genetic map, identifying distant cousins and relatives connected to the original sample. Once that map is built, private labs use public records and family trees to trace the lineage downward, generation by generation, until they triangulate the specific identity of the unknown suspect. For the first time in 30 years, investigators have a method to turn previously ignored physical evidence into a list of specific leads. It allows the department to use biological material from the basement to trace the killer's identity through their own family history. But the process is currently navigating a significant obstacle. Earlier this year, a former analyst with the state's investigative bureau pleaded guilty to mishandling DNA evidence and falsifying records across hundreds of unrelated cases. Even though there's no proof JonBenét's evidence was compromised in that scandal, John Ramsey is pushing back hard. He is actively advocating to bypass state resources entirely, demanding that this final round of testing be handled exclusively by independent private labs. The police department is moving forward, and laboratory comparisons on this newly tested batch of evidence are currently expected to conclude in early 2026. It is a striking contrast. An investigation that started in 1996 with a chaotic, unsealed house full of wandering neighbors is now hinging on the sterile, objective precision of modern genomic sequencing. Solving this case will not undo the tragedy, nor will it erase the years of unfair suspicion leveled at an innocent family. But it will prove that definitive science has the power to outlast 3 decades of noise and provide a final, documented conclusion.